Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode with your girl Audrey Codner, or the shell of Audrey Codner, because your girl is mad tired. It's been a crazy day, but as promised, I try to come on here to break down concepts, to build up your encouragement, build up your confidence, so you can get whatever you want in achievement of life. So, as I mentioned last time, we're going to kind of take a look at graphing sine and cosine functions, and we're just taking like bits and pieces, so it gives you a pretty good idea. Now, this is mostly going to be for those that are doing the ACCUPLACER, or maybe those that are currently in a class that's dealing with trig, maybe even dealing with Precalculus, to kind of like help you along the way. Maybe just small little introduction. So, if you want to come on in, you can come on in. But right now, I would love the likes, but I'm not going to be like driven, okay? Just really trying to get a lot of stuff done. So if we take a notice, we're going to talk about sine functions and we're going to talk about cosine functions. Now let me show you little bits and pieces of some of the things that goes with those things. So first we have what's called the amplitude. So the amplitude is basically the difference between the midline. So if you look at a sine graph, and you're probably saying, well, what's a sine graph look like? Well, if you think of like sound waves, right? And everyone loves to think about sine waves. So if I'm splitting that wave in half, that will be my midline. Majority of the times, your midline is going to be your x-axis, okay? Unless there is some kind of shift. But we're saying the amplitude is basically like the height from that midline to your maximum point, or from that midline to your minimum point. Okay, no matter what, the amplitude is always positive, and sometimes we like to calculate it by using the absolute value of A. Now, if you ever see your leading coefficient is negative, it's not because of the amplitude. The negative is telling you that your sine or your cosine graph has been flipped over the x-axis. All right. So if you ever see like a negative sign or symbol in front of your A, that means you're flipping that bad boy over your x-axis. But your A value is always going to be positive. Now, there is another thing called the period. Okay, so the period, again, it is basically going left to right. It's basically how long it takes for you to do one cycle. And so one cycle, I love how they say it's like one period of a function. So basically, if it starts, say, here at the C, how long it takes for me to get right back to that level where C is. Okay, so that will be a period. And most of the time we're using, the unit circle. So a lot of you guys are probably like, what is a unit circle? Well, let's take a look. So if we take a look at exactly not too bad for half asleep. Okay. So right here, this is where everything starts. This is my 0. This will be my pi over 2, which is equivalent to 90 degrees. This will be my pi. And then this is my 3 pi over 2. And when I come back to what's called a revolution, it will take me to what's called 2 pi. So if I'm starting here, for me to take one full circle, it's equivalent to 360 degrees. Or if we put it in radians, it's called 2 pi. So when we break this down, and right now I want to take a look at the sine function. So with the sine function, the very first thing is the equation, which is going to be y equals the sine. Thing is the equation, which is going to be y equals the sine of x. Now, the one thing we need to know about it is your domain. So your x's is always all real numbers. So all real numbers can be represented as a double R, or if you want to do an interval notation, it will take you from negative infinity to positive infinity. So that means we're not going to have any kind of halts, okay? Any number is all gained. But your range, that's where it somewhat differs. Just like the unit circle, our radius for our... all my pens go. Oh, here. So my radius, the length of it, is always like a 1. So either we're dealing with positive numbers or we're dealing with negative numbers. But the height of it is always a length of 1. What we're doing with the sine waves is almost like I'm taking this apart and I'm stretching it out. And you ever try to shake out your rug and you just flick it from one end and it just kind of does this little ripple and then some of the dirt comes flying out? That's basically, in a way, that's what you're doing. But you're either starting from, say, your belly button to do that flip, or you're starting higher up on your chest to do that flip. So no matter what, my range is always going to be from -1 to +1. Okay, it's never going to be more than that. It may shift, it may have a little transformation, but it's not going to be more than that. So this is at the standard. So now, if I wanted to kind of look at the angles, let me put it as a table. Okay, so this is my x. I'm looking at my angles. So we have our 0, we have our pi over 2, we have pi, we have 3 pi over 2, and then coming back to 2 pi. But if I'm looking at it in form of sine, we're always going to start with sine. You always start at the origin. So let me see if I can go and just bring in some of the table likes. So it goes here to here, and then we have here to here. This right here, that's going to be my midline, my x-axis. So like I said, this is going to go up to +1 and then down to -1. And I'm going to have the representation of pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi. So the one thing about sine, they always start at 0, 0. Okay? It's just a standard regular old sine. It starts at 0, 0. And then what happens, it goes up, then it comes back, then it goes down, back, then it goes down, then it comes back. So it comes up here, comes down, and it comes back up. Nice little wave. So it's almost like you're flicking the rug, trying to get the dirt out, and you're starting from your belly button. Okay, so you're starting from the belly button, you flick it up, then it does a nice little ripple, and then it chucks the dirt out. So this is considered a period because I can repeat this again if I wanted to. Notice here I started at the 0, and after it went down, now I'm going to start here at the pi, 2 pi, and I can go back up and continue that process all over again. So this is why we want to say from here to here, this is called a period. So basically where it starts and where you're going to see it try to repeat again. Now, when we do this lovely little ripple, this here, that's your maximum because that's your highest point. Right here, that's your minimum because that's your lowest point. So when we're saying when x is 0, we're going to be at 0. When it's pi over 2, it's going to be at 1. When it's pi, it'll be at 0. 3 pi over 2 will be negative 1. And then pi over 2 pi will be right back at 0. Okay. All right. Hey. Okay. So, all of this is going to stem from a lot from the unit circle. So one other thing I forgot to mention is the frequency. So it's basically the number of cycles completed. It's a frequency. So it's basically the number of cycles completed over 2 pi. So this can go really fast, okay? Or it can even elongate even further. So when we're looking at the period, and I'm going to use this just for a standard sine wave, your period is generally going to be 2 pi unless we need to look for, unless we have like something other than 1 in the frequency. And then my amplitude, this is what I was talking about. From my midline, what is the distance away? And from here, it's going to be 1 and 1. So my amplitude, or amp, is going to be 1. Okay. All right, so sine is the one that starts at 0, 0. Now cosine, that's going to be the other way around. So if we're looking at the cosine function, this is when we're dealing with the equation was y equals the cosine of x. Again, your domain will be all real numbers. And your range, so it hasn't changed, is still from -1 to 1. Still from -1 to 1. Okay. Now, difference between the sine And the cosine is also where it starts and the shape of the graph. So instead of you having two humps, you're basically going to have one. So again, this will be your pi over 2. That's your 90 degrees. This is your pi. This is your 3 pi over 2. And this is your 2 pi. So I'm going to say my height here is at positive 1. And my height here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, should be here. I drew it a little too long. That'll be at my negative 1. Now, difference with cosine, we're not going to start at the origin. So we're not flicking the rug from our belly button. We're starting from our chest. So we go down. At pi, we're going to be at negative 1. 3 pi back to 0. 2 pi at 1. So cosine looks something to this. Okay, and of course it keeps going, because then this is going on the way down. This one can kind of come here, because this from here to our 2 pi, that's our period. Because once I get past here, the cycle repeats again. So, if we want to kind of keep track of so we have our x, and we have our y, which equals our cosine of x. So, for the angle measure, we have our 0. We have our pi over 2, we have pi, we have 3 pi over 2, and we have 2 pi. So like I said, for cosine, it's going to start at 1. Pi over 2, that's going to be at 0. Pi is going to be at negative 1. 3 pi over 2, 0. And 2 pi at 1. And again, my x-axis is going to be my midline. All right. So that's my midline. We know my period is going to be 2 pi. My amplitude, in this case, is going to equal 1, because it's 1 unit away from the midline. Again, this right here is my max, and this right here is my min. So it's almost like this is a quarter of a way, this is half of a way, this is 3/4 of a way, and this is all the way. All right. Do I have other hobbies? No, I do not have time for hobbies. Yes, I finally looked up. How's everyone? Okay. because I just really want to get this somewhat completed. All right, so 5 points that you really want to do. So when you're looking at trying to do your graph, there is 5 points that you want to keep in mind. Okay? The 5 points you want to keep in mind is, one is your starting point. Where are you going to start? Are you going to start at the origin, or are you going to start at 1? So we need to know, where is that period going to start? After we do that, then we try to find 1/4 of that period. Then we try to find half of that period. Then we're trying to find, guess what? 3/4 of that period. I know, this is so mind-blowing, right? And the last one is basically, where is that period going to end? Okay, where's that period going to end? So when we see these, the one thing is, like, when you're calculating it, and I'm trying to use different colors so it kind of attracts your eye. So if you're ever looking for certain areas, and I'm going to put this on a separate page because I want you to see how the equations, because that's what you're going to see a lot on these exams. Sometimes they may give you a graph and they want you to pull the equation from it, or they'll give you the equation and they'll ask you certain things like, what would be the period? What's the amplitude? Is there a phase shift? Meaning, is it shifted left or right? Or is it a vertical shift? Meaning, does it shift up or down? So even the stuff that you do with, say, vertical angles, not vertical angles, like vertical, can't even think. I can't think anymore. I feel like I can't do this anymore. The vertex form, there we go. Okay, it's very similar to the vertex form. Like anything inside the parenthesis, you're moving left or right. Anything outside the parenthesis, not including the leading coefficient, that means you're shifting up and down. You do the same thing for absolute values. You do the same thing for, which we're going to do, sine. So it's like, once you get the basics, then you're able to build up on it. Okay, so I'm going to show you step by step how to pull the information from an equation, like a standard form sine and cosine equation. So let's start off. What does the equation look like, right? So for sine, sometimes it looks like this, and this is in general form. So we have our A value, which is representing our amplitude. Then there's a sine. Then they're telling you, okay, your B, which is also telling you your frequency. Then you have your X. It could either be plus or minus your C plus your D. Okay. So that's what it looks generally. So the areas that you're looking at is your A, your B, your C, and your D. Your A is telling you your amplitude. Your B is telling you your frequency. Your C is telling you your phase shift. And your D is telling you your vertical shift. I know, it makes it feel like I'm saying some other word, but I'm not. All right, so for the cosine, it's very much the same thing. The only thing that's different is you see cosine. Okay, so breaking it on down. So you have your amplitude, which I always say, it's always going to be positive, so that's why I'm putting it in the absolute value. Okay? But you're looking at how it's going to rise or fall. So how it's going to do a vertical stretch or compression. I'm not sure if I slide this all the way over. Okay. Then we're taking a look at the frequency. Now, your frequency is always going to be your B value, but that's going to be your horizontal stretch or compression. I'm hoping this is making sense because right now I am seeing double. So then we have our period. And the way you calculate the period, because sometimes you can figure it out by pulling out the formulas, it's always the full term, which is 2 pi over your B. That's how you would calculate your period. Not your period, but you know what I'm saying. Then you have your phase shift. Sometimes you'll see it as PS. Okay, this is definitely your C value. And this takes you from left to right. Now, your C value is inside the parenthesis. You always want to go opposite of what you see. If you see a plus sign, you're going to the left. If you see a minus sign, you're going to the right. You always go opposite of what you see. Okay? And then last but not least, we have our vertical shift. Okay, and your vertical shift, that's going to be your D. And you just go what you see. So either you're going up or down. So if it's positive, you're going up. If it's negative, you're going down. All right. So phase shifts, opposite of what you see. Vertical shifts, do what you see. All right, let's put this together. So, if we have let me just keep it with y equals, so it won't be too technical. So we have 4 sine of x minus pi over 4 plus 2. So we can pull some information out. Let's see if we can identify the amplitude. See if we can figure out the frequency, the period, phase shift, which I'm just going to put PS, and vertical shift, BS. Okay? Now, there's going to be times that you don't have one or the other, and that's fine. You can say none if you don't have something. So, the amplitude is your A. Okay? the absolute value of your A. So in this case, our amplitude is 4. Okay. Your frequency, that's your B. Your B is basically the coefficient, which we try to factor out, of your X. What's in front of the X? So in this case, we don't see a number here, but we always assume that it's a 1. If you don't see a number, assume it's a 1. Now, your period, we need to calculate that. So it's always 2 pi over your frequency, which is your B. So we figured out the frequency is going to be 1. So my period is going to be 2 pi over 1, which is just simply 2 pi. Now, that means the beginning, by the time it ends, before it starts over again, it's going to start over again at 2 pi. So now my phase shift is my C. Okay, the C is always after the plus or the minus of your X. So in this case, we have a negative pi over 4. And that's fine. We can say it's going to be pi over 4. And we know it's going to be positive because I see a minus sign. I always wanted to do opposite what I see. Okay, so the original equation, it's always X minus your phase shift. Okay, your C. So since this has not done a sign change, that means this is still going to be positive. So my phase shift is going to shift to the right pi over 4, the equivalence of pi over 4. Okay, minus sign, you're going to the right. Remember this? Plus sign, we're going to the left. Then my vertical shift is my D. And my D is a positive 2. So that means we went up 2 units. Okay. So all we're doing is taking bits and pieces of information, and then you're going to apply it to a graph, because since I know it's going to be a sine graph, I normally will start at 0, 0. But then there's a couple of things that's happening that's making me shift it along the graphs. Okay. Also, I'm giving a vertical stretch because now it's not a 1, it's going stretch up 4. And then there's a phase shift. That means I'm shifting it over to the right pi over 4. And then I'm going to take my whole entire graph and raise it up 2 units because of my D. All right. Let's try another one. So we have y equals negative 2 cosine 3x minus 1. So again, we want to check out the amplitude. We want to check out the frequency. Check out the period. Okay. Phase shift and vertical shift. Okay. So, amplitude. My amplitude is actually going to be what? What do you think the amplitude is? The amplitude is my A. But what do you think is the official amplitude? You can actually put it in chat now. I know, I just want to get all this out of my system. Okay, user, you're close. Very close. Something just needs to be tweaked. Same thing as Sweet Sage. There you go. Was it Lonnie? There you go. Good. James, good. Hey, Michael. Good. So the amplitude is always positive. Okay? So the amplitude is actually going to be 2. Now, you're probably saying, well, Audrey, I see a negative. Okay? Just in case you're too tired, Audrey. But I do see a negative. True. But this is telling me that this graph, once I get everything all shifted and everything, at the last minute before I submit, I have to reflect it over the x-axis. That's what that negative is telling me, that my graph is actually going to be flipped over the x-axis. But the amplitude, the height from the midline to the maximum point and the midline to the minimum point is going to be a length of 2. Okay, good. Now my frequency, the frequency is the B. The B is always what's in front of the X. So in this case, what is my B? What's in front of my X? Yeah, you can put it in the chat now. There you go. It's Liani. I can't pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. And it's so simple. There we go. Everyone with the 3s. Good. Sweet Sage. User. All of that. JB. Good. Michael. Awesome. Good. All right. So it's just my frequency is the 3. Now, in order to get my period, we're going to have to do 2 pi over the frequency. So it's going to be 2 pi over what? What's going to be in the denominator? Probably people are like, I put it right there. It's already there. Yes, it's going to be that 3 that you guys found. Okay, so it's always 2 pi over that frequency. And we don't need to reduce it because we can't. So it's 2/3. Now, the phase shift is your C. Okay, your phase shift is your C. What is your phase shift? What is your phase shift? I'm really tired, Michael. I've been tutoring since 9:30 this morning. Okay, good. 0. Yes. Thank you for the follow. Yes, 0. Okay. We don't have a plus or minus with the x. Okay, we don't have anything in there. So we can actually say we don't have a phase shift. Okay, we don't have to give it a place value. If you want to say none, you can say none instead of a 0. Either way, it'll be understandable. Okay. Oh, well, thank you. All right. So now, our vertical shift. What's our vertical shift? What do you think our vertical shift is? Michael saying -1. User saying -1. Down 1. Good. Down 1. JB. Urban is urban. All right. Good. Mount saying 1. But since it's a -1, yes, we are going to go down 1. All right. Okay, good. Down 1 unit. There you go. All right. So once you have a good idea of what's representing what, you'll be able to pick up on how to basically figure out your amplitude, your frequency, your period, if you do have a phase shift, and then your vertical shift. But here's the thing. What happens if our phase shift is, how should I say? What happens if our B, because right now this one wasn't hard because we just had 3x. But what happens if I have a leading coefficient in with the x, but then it also gives me another movement? What happens if not my phase shift, sorry, my frequency and then my phase shift? So let me show you. Let me show you what I'm trying to say. Because believe it or not, English is just not working today. English is really not working today. All right, so we have y equals. We have the sine of 2x plus pi. Okay. So when I see this, my b, you would think is going to be 2, which it will. But here's the thing. Since it's being added to basically my other phase shift, I need to factor out this 2. So when I see my leading coefficient, if it's not a 1, because here, when it was 1, hey, that's not a problem. Okay, when we didn't have a whole term because it wasn't plus or minus anything, boom, that's my frequency, not a problem. But because we have an expression now inside the parenthesis, I need to factor out that 2. So this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be y equals the sine. If I factor out the 2, okay, that means I'm going to divide everything inside this parenthesis by 2. So 2x divided by 2 gives me 1x plus pi divided by 2 gives me pi over 2. When there's an expression and you have a leading coefficient that's not 1, okay, most of the times it's going to be more than 1, you need to factor out that term. Okay, it has to be a single, because if you look at the general form, notice inside the parenthesis we have x plus or minus a c. Notice that b is not with that x. So if it is a number that's larger than 1, we got to factor that bad boy out. Okay, so now let's get back to what we're searching for. So we can talk about the amplitude, the frequency, the period, phase shift. I'll actually spell it out this time. Okay, and vertical shift. Okay, so we're looking at this second equation right here. We're not looking at the original, looking at the second. So, what's my amplitude? What do you think is my amplitude? Say none. Okay. 1. Yes, kicked out the 2. Yes, it did. Blue saying 1. Michael R saying 1. Remember, was that Ivan? Okay, remember your amplitude is that coefficient or that number before sine or cosine. Okay, so this number, if you don't see anything, it's assumed that it's a 1. The frequency is your b. The b is what you factored out. That's your 2. But our period is always 2 pi divided by our frequency, which will give me what? There we go. Good. That's a JB. We got pi. User. Good. Pi. All right. Because 2 divided by 2 will give me 1. And you can say 1 pi or just simply pi. Now with the phase shift is what's inside that parenthesis. Okay? So we have pi over 2. Now here's my question. Inside the parenthesis, you're always going left or right. Go opposite of what you see. Which direction am I taking that pi over 2? Am I going to the left or to the right? Okay, user saying left. JB is saying left. Okay, Michael saying left. Okay, is it Lonnie saying left? Sweet Sage is saying left. Good. It's always opposite what you see. So this will be to the left. And what is my vertical shift? Okay. So user saying 0. Okay, none, 0, 0, not accurable. Yes. Good. We don't have any. We don't have a plus or minus a number at the end. So we don't have none. We don't have a vertical shift this time. Okay, no vertical shift. Good. All right, one more. And then your girl's about to pass out. And then I get to get up and do it all over again. I lost 1. Oh, wait, no. I lied. Sorry. I'm rewriting the last problem that we just did. Yep. It's official. I'm like so done. Okay, let's try it. Let me suck it up. All right, y equals 3 the sine of 3x plus pi minus 7. And what we're going to look for is we're trying to get the amplitude, trying to get the frequency, the period. Yeah, it's just really busy because everyone is starting to take their finals, and I'm starting to get students for incoming freshmen, and parents are just worried about if their child can do the math. So I've been doing a lot of that. So it's been busy. All right. Okay, what is my amplitude? Let's put that in the chat. What is my amplitude? So use the same 3. Blue Wang saying 3. Mella. Oh, no problem, Mella. Bayou Britt saying 3. Sweet Sage is saying 3. Awesome. Love it. Okay. What is my frequency? Ola Bola saying 3. JB said 3. Okay. That was from earlier. Okay. It says, yes, unit. We got to factor it out. But even if we factor it out, our frequency is still a 3. But what's going to remain inside the parenthesis when we factor out this 3? What will stay inside the parenthesis? Okay, Olabola is saying x plus pi over 3. Blue is saying x plus pi over 3. Okay, Bayou Brit says x plus pi over 3. Okay, Sweet Sage says x plus pi. Don't forget something with the pi. Because if we factor out the 3, that means we're dividing everything by that 3. X plus pi over 3, there you go. Thank you for the rose. So we have our x. All right. So our period will be what? There you go, Sweet Sage. Love it. What will be our period? Okay. Use what we did earlier to help you to remember. Okay, so JB is saying 2 pi over 3. Okay, do we agree? Okay, well, user is agreeing with 2 pi over 3. Okay. Because remember, we're going to take our 2 pi over our frequency. So 2 pi over 3. Now my phase shift, which we factored, which is going to be pi over 3, but which direction am I going? Left or right? Nice. We got left. We have left. Good. Left. JB. Good. Good job, guys. Very nicely done. Because since it was a plus, you always do opposite where you're going. Plus normally means to the right, that's positive. So that means we're going to the left. And then last but not least, the vertical shift. What is my vertical shift? Yes, down 7, down 7, down 7. Good. So since it is outside the parenthesis, negative 7, that means you are going down 7. Okay. Nicely done, guys. Well, this, believe it or not, forms a trig, but you will see this in Precalculus and also trigonometry. Yeah, it's all kinds of fun stuff. And you'll also see it in calculus. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in because I'm splitting. I'm making one, which I tried to do today. Um, but the big A was on my nerves today. I'm doing one for pre-algebra and algebra 1. And then I'm doing another book for algebra 2 and precalculus. That is going to have like this stuff in there. Because I didn't want to put a book with, amplitude and all that for someone that's taking like, pre-algebra. So I figured I'll split them up. Yep, the trig and algebra 2. The same as the vertical stretch. Yes. Yep. Okay. I can plot this, but I'm going to pause on it because right now I'm about to pass out. So Kiki, yes, we can do plot. In your copy? Okay. I figured that. Alright. Hopefully by tomorrow night I can be a little more livelier, but I doubt it. So it's going to be like the next couple weeks is just going to be all kinds of cray-cray, but I'm going to try my absolute hardest to try to bring the best of me to you guys each and every night, but sometimes it'll do. Yes, I'm going to try to do tomorrow. Yes. Okay, not a problem. It was my pleasure tutoring you guys for a little bit. What time am I on? It's 11:16, which is compared to what time I normally go to bed. This is nothing. Normally I'm going to bed at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, but I guess my body was like, no, we can't keep this up forever, Audrey. Like, make yourself crazy. But, so tomorrow, I think you're just going to see me at 9:30 again tomorrow. I'll probably go into the graphing bits of this and maybe redo just a little bit just as a refresher. And just so we can kind of see what those graphs look like. I'm trying to pull a lot more stuff with the ACCUPLACER. But anyway, if you are... all my replays of all my lives are here. So if you go here, just go ahead and type in my name, or you type in that. And I would love for you to do this, and or this, okay? Just so you can get like some when I upload things. I just did yesterday's because sometimes it takes some time for me to download it off of TikTok to put it up on my other platform. So that's why I said usually give me overnight to do it. But here's another thing. Oh, actually, hold on. No, I'm good. I just made sure I wasn't screwing up my schedule. Also, what I'm doing, and there's one for tomorrow, I'm doing a mock practice test for anyone that's taken GED, ASVAB, TEAS test, or even college algebra. And you just want to have a good idea that, am I on track? Do I really understand these concepts? It's 35 questions. Right now, we're going to break off for 59 minutes. We come on the Zoom call. I do a couple little house cleaning type things. And then you sit and you do the test. That's it. So say goodbye to your kids, say goodbye to your significant other. You need this time to focus on this test. And I want you to really absorb and try to answer the questions as best you can. Then afterwards, I go over the answers and break down the concepts, and that's where you can do a lot of questions and answers. And if you want the replay or maybe even copies of the test and also answer key, you can definitely get that at a price for $25 for my non-TikTok subscribers. For my TikTok subscribers, it's $15. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, Guys, my channel is free. Like, I'm not bougie yet, so you might as well get me before I become bougie, because I know I wouldn't even want to recognize myself once I become bougie. So go ahead and sign in. But if you want to come in live, there is an entry fee of like $10 for subscribers and even non-subscribers. So it's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, I try to respect your time as much as possible. Just try to come at like either on time or roughly within a 5-minute span. And then there's another one Saturday morning at 10 a.m. to 12:30. And then the last one is next Sunday or coming Sunday at 7 to 9:30. The reason why I get the cutoff around 9:30 is because you might have questions that prolongs the time. You might have something that's like really quick and short. I don't know. So I just at least block it off. But if we're done before that, we definitely can get dismissed. Okay? So trying to do things to alleviate your test taking strategies. Like, you are not the test. I think that's the easiest way that I can describe it. You are not the test. Okay, you're using this test to show somebody that, hey, I do know some things, and, that's about it. Okay, take it or leave it. But you can't make this test be your all in all. Like, oh my God, if I fail it, then I'm going to be nothing and nobody. No, I need for you to switch that mindset. You are somebody with or without a test. So just be able to take your time, get all the jitters out now, so then you can ask questions about some things, because then when you take the test, you won't be stressed out anymore. All right? So I am offering private, one-to-one, and also small groups. If you want to do a course instead of like coming for weekly meetings, we have a course for just the math for GED, ASVAB, ACCUPLACER. T's, you can definitely use it. And maybe if you have a little kiddo that's going into high school and you're worried about him or her understanding the basic math concepts, go ahead and reach out and then sign up for one of the courses. So the course is like $147 if you just want the course only and you just, keep your own self-pace. Or you can get $197, which includes 2 30-minute tutoring sessions. So you're going to understand the concepts, but maybe there's one thing that you just need a personal touch for. Okay? And you can go here to sign up for any of the courses, talk about online math tutoring, all that. And the last bit is my books. So if you notice inside this lovely book, okay, I basically designed this book. I just try to keep a lot of kids with their notes and try to keep it organized. So if they have a formula, the formula will go here. Then this will be like your steps. And then here is just like for you to do your practice. All right. Yeah, I don't feel like selling too much anymore. But I know I have to. So it's not only just places for you to do your notes, it also has reference sheets. So here's a factor sheet from 1 to 200. Here's the rules of integers that a lot of people tend to forget. Here's your order of operations and properties of exponents that it seems like a lot of people forget. Okay, properties of quadrilaterals, as well as your arc sector, area of a sector, arc length. We have our volume, our surface area. Then we also have the area and perimeter of certain shapes. And then here's that lovely unit circle that I was talking about, as well as Pythagorean theorem and also your trig identities. So all of that is in this handy dandy notebook. Okay? All right. Okay, JB, thank you so much. Okay. So you have sample problems? I do. Now, here's another one, since you want me to talk about it. Okay, if you want my actual notes, you can get that. This is what's called Audrey's notes. So all the notes that I take, right now, we completed book 4. We're currently working on book 5. You can actually take these notes and follow along. Every section has a QR code. If you scan the QR code, it will take you directly to the live that this information was presented. You can follow along. You can write notes. You can do a little bit of enrichment. Maybe it'll be great for homeschool parents and students. So that's called Audrey's Notes. You can get it at the A if you want to, and you're probably like, at the A. I know, I can't say the word because TikTok will shut me down. So you can either get it at the A, but I only get 50 cents per book. So I have my own personal bookstore, Books by Audrey Codner, if you ever want to venture to that. All right. Okay. I think I'm done. Yep, I will be doing T's as well, Kiki. So when am I on air? Oh, this week has been nuts. Usually I'm on twice a day, like at 1 o'clock and at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Now tomorrow is just going to be at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. But on Thursday, I will be on both at 1 o'clock and at 9:30. And then on Fridays, I just do my 1 o'clock. Okay. But if anything, you can check my profile. I usually have my schedule pinned. But since a lot of students or a lot of people are asking me for assistance for tutoring, it just seems like my schedule just keeps changing. Which is nice. Because I like helping people out so they can achieve what they need to achieve. Okay? So the key part is you have to understand your multiplication tables. Guys, if you don't understand your multiplication tables, it's going to be really hard for you to pass some of these exams because they will throw those problems, those answers that will look like it will be right, and it sure as heck will not be. So it's like you've got to study for understanding, not just, okay, this is how I study. Let me just flip through the pages. Yeah, I know how to do that. Yeah, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. No, you're going to have to literally get a separate sheet of paper, copy down what the problem is. Oops. Okay, copy down what the problem is, close this notebook, put it off to the side, do the problem on this single sheet of paper, and then you can use your notes as an answer key. That's how you study math. Okay, a lot of people will say you can just get practice problems online and just do them. Well, if you're not quite sure how to do something, you're going to learn something incorrectly. And it takes a long time to undo that. All right? So I am going to have a math tutoring for that pre-K to 3rd grade. I haven't done that young. I usually do like middle school and high school. I'm wondering, because I know there's going to be more than just... I have to take a look at it. I don't know. You're the first person that I've gotten that's at that age. But if anything, Latasha, just how about do this? Message me. We'll arrange for a meeting. If you can pull some stuff that you can use for studying, and let me take a look at it. And then I will take it from there. Okay? Yep. Certification exam. Yeah, I'm starting to get to know some of the lingos. Because some of the places have some interesting letters combined, and I'm like, what is that? And then someone says, oh, that's for teacher certification. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. So just go ahead and message me. I'll probably get back to you like tomorrow. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Sorry, I'm a little lackadaisical. Not a problem. Not a problem. And if any of you guys are about to take your GED or your ASVAB or your TEAS test or the ACCUPLACER, and you really just want to go over some things just as a refresher, let me know. I mean, I'm still going to, do what I need to do, but let me know so we can go over some things. And it seems like my little refresher thing that I do with people really tends to help people. So if you're getting close and you're like, oh, I've taken it 2 times already, or I've taken it once already, that's even better. Because then I can tell you that, hey, you need to make sure you hit those 4-point questions about slope, about equation of the line, about system of equations, and matrices. You really should be hitting on those. Don't ignore them. If you ignore those type of questions, you will not pass the GED at all, regardless of how well you did in the beginning part. So you definitely have to get that done. Right? Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for the likes. I really do appreciate that. And thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it. I will see you guys tomorrow night at 9:30. I'm going to try to do the graphing. It's always fun. And we're going to take it from there and try to do more ACCUPLACER. Again, if you want to sign up for the mock, just go. Where is it? Oh, not that one. So many papers. Okay. It's like the first link in my bio. Just go here and you can register through there. Okay. That's the only way I can do this without TikTok trying to shut me down. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. If you need anything, just message me. Okay. Take care and have an amazing night. Love you guys. Bye.